you know, her experiences. So this is with chocolate, I think. This. Is it?
Yes.
Anyway, she agreed to come to speak in the shul in Livingston. So my daughter is telling me about it. I said, Dolores, I know the woman. I don't know the daughter, but I know the woman. I met her right after the war in Paula's house in Krakow. So, you know, the day of the commemoration, they are invited, she and her husband are invited to my house for dinner. And from after the dinner, we will take them to shul, and she will speak in shul. The shul, they have a tremendous big social hall. It was full capacity. There weren't enough chairs. People were standing. And it was raining outside, cats and dogs. Terrible rain. And they brought 2 boxes of the books. They sold out all 2 boxes of books. She died, Irene died a few years ago. And when you are in the Washington Museum, there is an exhibit of it, and in the pictures they are my cousin with her husband. Big picture. And as I looked through
What's your cousin's name? What's your cousin's name?
That they survived, I have the book here. But in the book is written terrible. I mean, mistakes in writing. Their name was Morse. So they have their Morris. Instead of a K, they have an I. And the other mistakes also, but you want to read the book?
Sure.
I will lend it to you.
Okay.
I will give you the book, and you will return it to me because I took it from my daughter.
Okay.
But between all these, I found the others of Irene in California.
Wow.
My husband's handwriting. Well, anyway, here, look what they are.
United States?
Yes, Robinson came to Halinka's house, and they came to,
What year?
could be maybe, I don't know, 12 years ago?
Oh, okay.
Maybe 12 years.
Oh, so you didn't know Rose Kaliski till then?
I think I met her in Salzburg, if I'm not mistaken. Was she in Salzburg?
Yeah.
Yeah, I met her, yeah.
So that's how I know them. Okay, now you were telling me about going to Badishu.
Where?
Badishu. Your husband
Badishu.
was going to school. And,
My husband went to Vienna to school.
okay.
Yeah.
What was, we're going to have to go back and forth between Salzburg because there's more questions I have, but what did Badishu look like? How many people lived there? Was it a smaller place than Salzburg?
It was like, it was more of a resort.
Oh, so it was very nice.
It was in the mountain, it was beautiful, beautiful. Wintertime skiing, of course not me.
Were there a lot of people?
Like in Europe, you know, in a small town. It was a small town. was very beautiful. And they had some these beds that people took for rheumatism or something like that.
It was a DP camp, though.
And we were in a DP camp. A part of us was living in that hotel. Before I remembered the name, now I forgot. And part of the people lived in, it was called Gisela. Gisela was a niece of Kaiser Franz Joseph. So it was a smaller building, and whoever they didn't have room for in that hotel lived over there. Very nice.
Now, were you friendly with everybody in this camp?
Oh, sure.
And from the people that you knew from Badishu, after you came to America, did you still know those people?
Some of them, yes.
Were those friendships maintained? For those that came to America, did you stay friends?
Not with all of them. And not because I didn't want to, but they found other people and they didn't need me, just plain as said.
But were there some you stayed friendly with for your entire life?
Oh, sure, sure. Those are all the people that I'm telling you about. Only lately, not too many people are interested in an old lady.
No, well, I'm talking mostly about till, the early part of America, not till around 1965, 1970.
Yes. Yes. I was very friendly with Rose Kluger. I married her off.
How did you do that?
And I also, one day we were living in Ebelsberg, that was in Linz. But they had two camps in Linz, I think. But I was in Ebelsberg. So Rose was telling me that he's seeing other girls.
Who's he?
Kluger,
Okay.
Mike Kluger. So one morning, about 5 o'clock in the morning, summertime, I put on a robe on my gown and I knocked on his door. He let me in and I started a talk with him, What are your intentions? Do you or don't you? If you want Rose, then Rose it is. But if you don't, odwal się. And he said, no, he thinks of her very seriously. And so I went to Rose that day. I told her, don't worry, he is yours. And then I made their wedding.
Tell me about that.
I baked. That time there was no food like a dinner, but there was a lot of cake and liquor and fruit. So I put that together and we made a wedding in Salzburg.
What do you?
I wasn't married yet. She was married in January.
That January 46?
46.
So who came to this wedding?
3/4 of the camp.
Is that how weddings were?
Sure.
Everybody came?
To my wedding, I had invitations printed.
Oh my God.
And my wedding was in Gisela. And on my wedding, we served first fish that somebody caught for me. And she would bring it for me.
Okay, let's
My
stop.
daughter
Wait,
about the road.
fish.
My wedding was the first wedding that they served fish, and a German bakery baked holly for us.
Now, did people come from Salzburg to Badishu to?
From Salzburg, Rose Kluger was her husband. They were my, they were taking me to the Hopa. I have pictures someplace. Well, anyway, but she never, and he, and I told them a million times, never paid me any money, for
The shidduch.
the shidduch. You see? Well, all right, I forgave them.
Let me ask you a question about Salzburg. Were there a lot of weddings in Salzburg?
Of course.
And
Of course, a lot of people got married in Salzburg.
did everybody go to everybody's wedding?
Probably. But I had the invitations printed, but I had to send to everybody in camp. But in Batishto wasn't such a big camp, so it was okay.
I want to just go back to Salzburg just for a minute.
Yeah.
Did a lot of was there, it's like right after the war. Did it feel like it was right after the war when people were getting married, or did it feel like it was more like people were moving on and getting married, and what did it feel like?
I will tell you what. Not too many of us was left from the families. Like, let's say, we remained 4 sisters. I am one of 8 children. Parents, the whole families, cousins, uncles, aunts, everybody perished. But you remained, and the war is over, and eventually you wanted to make a life for yourself.
Could you feel that?
Yes.
And with most people, you could feel people wanted to work. Did people feel like they wanted to start?
So in Salzburg, Ludka Bagel and me, we found a Yugoslavian guy he was making coats and suits for ladies. And we told him that we are experienced in sewing. And we both went and we worked by him every day for 2-3 hours in the afternoon, and he was paying us. I don't remember how much, but he didn't want us for nothing. He paid us some money for it. And that felt good, because finally you had your own whatever money it was. Not that we went shopping and doing things, but it felt good to have, your own money.
Were other people doing that too?
Not that I know of, but it's possible they did. I know that people were working for the American Army, because the Americans were there after the war. They were working for the army, so they got all the food they needed. And if anybody, yes, a lot of people were working at the black market, exchanging money, buying money, selling money. My husband was not cut out for it. and he wasn't my, but he was working in a German, not in a German, in a American kitchen. He was working, not in Salzburg. When we came to Bad Ischl,
Right.
he was working for, and it was very good.
Was in Salzburg were people kind of like a substitute family with each other?
There were some people who didn't survive by themselves. There
Yes.
were people that had a brother, a sister, somebody. Like my sister-in-law, she found her brother.
I'm trying to ask about the feeling in the camp. Was it like a family feeling, or were people strangers, or is it more like a stick-together feeling?
No, I think the feeling was very friendly, and we were treated nice. There was no such thing as one got more or one got less, and we trusted the whoever was working for us.
Did you talk about the war?
I don't remember.
It's okay. Do you remember the kinds of conversations you had with each other?
No.
Okay. Did people talk a lot about trying to find family?
All the time.
That was a big thing. And did people go from camp to camp trying to find family?
Not that I know of. But I know that I found out that I have 3 sisters in Tarnów, in Poland. So I picked myself up and I went there.
You went to Poland?
Sure. I was in Poland starting September, by the end of September, middle September, till about when I got back to Bad Ischl, there was piles of snow. But in that country, snow, sometimes in late October, it's already snow. But I was in Poland about 2 months.
Did you bring them back with you?
No.
What were they doing in Poland?
My brother-in-law, they were in a bunker. They were saved by Poles, Polish people.
They didn't want to leave?
No. And then at this time, it wasn't so easy to leave from Poland to America. Whoever wanted to go to America went to Austria or to Germany, and from there it was easy to go to America. But my brother-in-law, he used to have a factory of cotton suits because Tarnów was the industry,
Textile.
yeah. So he used to have a factory, and he started to work and make a living.
Didn't there come a time when Poland was too dangerous, though?
No. Right after the war, very short time after the war, certain parts of Poland was dangerous. But they wanted, first of all, both my sisters were pregnant because they were liberated in January, when the Russians came. So they expected babies. One baby was born April 12th, and one baby was born May 1st. you know. So pregnant women and for the winter to live, and they had a beautiful apartment there.
So they stayed.
They lived, yeah. Anyway, they came later on, the next May, when this baby was a year old. They came to Austria. I had them in Austria. But my sister, the other sister, with my brother-in-law, they went to Germany. They had friends in Germany, so they went, and from Germany, they came to the United States.
Were they in a Jewish DP camp in Germany or a town?
I don't remember. Maybe I will remind myself, but I think they had an apartment someplace.
And did your other sisters go to Salzburg or to Badishu?
But Ishul, L.
Badishu, okay.
My first sister that came to Badishu came straight from Poland to Badishu. And my other sister, the older sister, went to Germany. They lived for a while in Germany, and then they came to the United States.
So what was it like in Salzburg when a child was born?
I will tell you the honest truth, that I don't remember. Because
Did you have bris?
the first one, sure, of course. And when you got married, you had to go to the mikveh.
You had a mikveh?
I went to a mikveh in Salzburg, otherwise the rabbi wouldn't marry me.
Oh.
He wouldn't marry me off.
What was a mikveh like in Salzburg?
It was a hole in the ground, and you had to get into the hole into water and dip yourself in. I don't remember, once or more, and it was kosher.
What if you didn't believe?
You couldn't get the rabbis, so you could marry in court.
So people who didn't believe just went to City Hall?
Right.
Okay. So what if people, did people celebrate the birth of children?
Of course.
What was,
Of course, with a bris, with everything.
did people come to that the same way they did to marriages? In other words, you said everybody came to the weddings. Did everybody come to the bris?
No.
Okay.
Brises usually people were invited to.
Oh, okay.
But I had the first one, a girl, and it was in the United States. She was born 2 weeks after I came to this country, and my husband was still in Europe.
Wow.
Well, my husband came to the United States when my daughter was 3 weeks old. 5 weeks, and she was 2 weeks in an incubator because she was born 4 pounds and 6 ounces. And at the time, they didn't let the baby out until it was at least 5 pounds. So she was in an incubator, and she was born a redhead. And in Europe, a redhead was terrible. Redheads are only, the call girls. I don't want to name them. Anyway, I cried my eyes out. And especially, I didn't speak. I understood a little bit English, but I couldn't speak it that well. And then I am a person that unless you know something well, you use it. If you don't know it well, don't use it. So I said that I want to breastfeed my baby. And the following morning, the doctor comes to me and he says to me in a Lutvak, Jewish, the Westnish Kind, which means you will not breastfeed your baby. But it sounded that the Westnish Zain, you won't see your baby. And I went berserk. He said, what's that? I said, finally we straightened things out, and he says that the baby is too small to bring to me, and she remained, and after a few days, that time 7 days, I went home, and the baby was in the hospital 8 or 9 more days.
So who was with you when you
My
had...
aunt and my uncle. I came to them, poor people on Bushwick Avenue, I don't know if you know the section. Very poor people, but very rich in their heart. Well, anyway, they came to the hospital to see me, and they saw the baby, and they come to me. And in the United States, a redhead is something special. So they come to my bed. Oh, what a beautiful baby. And I thought to myself, oh, what good people. They want me to feel good. It was all an experience. And then my husband came when my daughter was 3 weeks old. And at the time, he came by boat. And I had the baby in my house, so my family from the Bronx, my uncle, this uncle, my cousins, they all went to the boat to get my husband. So my uncle they came from the Brooklyn Eagle. At the time there was in Brooklyn a newspaper, the Brooklyn Eagle. So they got hold of a correspondent from the Brooklyn Eagle, and they told him to tell this and this man that his wife gave birth to a baby girl. So the guy went up and told my husband, and then they came from the Brooklyn Eagle in the evening, and they took a picture of us with the baby, and they wrote a whole article. I have the article someplace, I should show it to you, but I didn't look for it, I don't know where it is. It is probably with all the albums. Anyway, they wrote a big article about us, and they write about me. I was pitch black, my hair was blacker than yours. And they made me in the article an attractive looking blonde. So it was very funny, but that's it.
So of your friends, who was the first to come to America?
Of my friends, I was the first.
After you?
After me came Ludka Bagel, and then came my sister-in-law in May, and Ludka came maybe in April.
Where did they live? Near you?
They all lived, first of all, there was a place here in New York where all the new Americans could come and stay until they got a place to live. So I think that Ludka was in one of these places, and my sister-in-law was already in my apartment, because in May I moved already from my uncle to my own apartment.
This is what year, 1947?
47. 48.
48. So who else came slowly over? Rose Kluger?
I don't remember.
Well, in the first couple of years, who were you close with in the United States?
I was close with Ludka, and I had a friend who was not with me in concentration camp. Her name was Lola and Leo Rubinstein, and their son, they both died, but their son is in contact with me.
Did you know them from Europe, or you met them here?
I met them in Europe, in Bad Ischl.
Who else were you close with here? I'm talking about just in the early days of America.
First of all, I had my family here.
Of course.
Then I got to know other people, also survivors. There's a couple that came from Russia, but he was from Poland and he married a girl from Russia. So they came, I got to know them.
What were their names?
It was Genia and Wagman.
Were they in DP camps, or you just met them here?
I met them here in the United States. And I met other people in the United States that I was friendly with.
So if I were to ask you from Salzburg and from Bad Ischl, who you knew for 20 years in America and friendly with, besides the ones you met, besides the ones you've already said, who would that be?
I knew a couple who were cousins to my brother-in-law. I knew them from Tarnov. And I even had a business with her.
Oh, what?
I opened a dress shop. And I was with her in business for 5 years.
Where was that?
In Brooklyn.
Oh,
I used to live in Brooklyn. And my husband had a business in Manhattan.
what was her name?
From home, I will tell you in a minute. It's not something.
No.
Her name,
What was the name of the store?
Zeller. No, the name of the store was Faye and Helen's Dress Shop.
Okay.
I have a card someplace. And we did alterations free. So we had a very good going business. But finally we got very sick. She and I, sick of working with women. They went on your nerves. So we said goodbye. After 5 years, no more. We sold it, finished. And then the woman who bought the business from us, she was furious. She was a very religious woman. She closed the store on Saturday, which in a dress shop, close Saturday is not such a good idea. But she did. And she was preparing her food. So she ate her herring and her onion. And when a customer came in, she approached the customer to deal with her. So of course people didn't like it, and they didn't come in. And they met me once in the street because I was living at the time in Canarsie, and they lived maybe 3-4 streets away from me. So they met me in the street, and they cursed on me. Why didn't you tell me that the business is you? Because I never knew that the business was me. The business was me and Faye. What can I tell you? That was my experience with my own business. But we
Okay.
did pretty well. Only the women started to. When I bought the dress, it had more beading here. So I said, so you mean to tell me that I took off the beading? Probably. No?
Okay, hold on. We're gonna change tapes now.